Damon, and we'll by hook or by crook try to keep you in the rotation, as you well know.
Yes.
We have a different holiday schedule, but meanwhile, good stuff.
Yeah.
Talk about the Red Wings. I know they'll be coming down to Florida during the holiday season.
Yeah, I wanted to get my Twitter handle out real fast.
Sure,
to
go ahead.
Information out there.
Sure.
So it's at Damon with capital K and then N to follow, and then it's 672-7721. That's my Twitter handle. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Good. Well, I'm glad you got it out there. I guess Louis Adio White's kind of motivated you to do it. You got tongue-tied.
Yeah. He stepped the game up big time, so I thank him for that. You can't ask for much better advice.
Now just make sure you get on Twitter and start retweeting what we have on the Tribune as well, and you'll be better.
So, thank you. I appreciate it.
But you keep announcing it every time you're on the program. Make sure you get that Twitter handle and all your social media stuff, because this whole thing will be driven by social media. With that said, Damon, I'll see ya.
I guess they say another one bites the dust. Probably some bad phone reception, but
doesn't matter.
Yeah, so if you want to talk about that real quick, I mean, I guess Mike Babcock's not the answer.
You're going to have that much time, pal, but that's okay. I like where you're going with it. Mike Babcock to me would be a little bit of a mystery. So.
Yeah, bullying has no place in sports. Just ask Jonathan Martin and Richie Incognito.
That's true, but when you're talking about it from a coaching standpoint, then that becomes a bit more of a difficult spot, more so than players, although I don't like it either way. So
no, it has no place in sports. I mean, fans are going to taunt and bully all they want, but they pay to see the games.
Well, coaches have to lead by example.
Absolutely. Professionalism is something that they should pride themselves on.
Right, but some coaches are so hard-nosed that a lot of players can't handle it. So there's a fine line, which we're not going to get into in a minute and a half discussion down the road. We probably might, but not now. But I understand where we're going. So just to let everybody know that we're going to have a different holiday schedule over the course of the next few weeks. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it's at Tribune South. That's the @ Tribune South. You can follow myself, Scott Morganroth, and also Louis Adio Weiss on Facebook. Okay. And then look for South Florida Tribune on Facebook page, and go ahead and get with your Twitter handle.
Yeah, my Twitter handle, if you guys want to follow me, I retweet a lot of what we have going on in the Tribune. I also post my articles there as well.
Right.
Adio_Louis00. You'll find my baseball content on there, my link to the contributor page on the Tribune. And, yeah, you'll see a link to the South Florida Tribune on my Twitter bio as well, so you can give us a follow there. It'll be great. We appreciate the support, and we want to interact with you guys.
Yeah, by all means. Again, you can reach us a lot of different ways. I'm working on a lot of changes here on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network, a lot of specialty shows for the Sports Exchange to complement our other shows as well. Some of the bigger ones that we have out there, the South Florida Tribune Podcast. And you know what, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk is going to be a show you'll see a lot more of. With that said, we got David Levin coming on the program. And David, welcome back to the Sports Exchange, buddy. Glad to have you on board.
Hey, gentlemen. How y'all doing tonight?
We're doing great. You ready to do some live action on Sunday this time?
Yeah, we'll make it happen. How's it going, Louis?
What's going on, David? How you doing tonight, man?
All right, I don't want to leave you out.
All right, I'm right here.
Attaboy.
Thanks for the acknowledgement.
Cool. So how is it down in South Florida?
Oh, I love it. I don't know this guy's wearing a long sleeve shirt.
Yeah, the weather's nice. The Heat are playing well. The Marlins are putting artificial turf on the field, unfortunately. But other than that, you can't really complain.
Well, I understand they're bringing the fences in, too, which is going to make things a lot more exciting out there.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Brian Anderson, my main man in Miami will like that. But, yeah, you want to get some Jacksonville Jaguars news, talk about your territory?
Real quick, though, I used to watch Brian Anderson for 2 years over here with the Shrimp before he was called up.
Yeah.
Amazing kid.
Oh, I love him. I think
one of the best.
And before we get into that briefly, I'll just say with him moving the fences in, guy's a good defender at multiple positions. He's going to hit for some more power. He hit 20 bombs in 19, but I expect that to go up, and he's definitely a centerpiece moving forward. But with that, let's talk some Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, by all means, you and I get to talk about it extensively on Sunday. Go on. Bring it to us.
Okay. I guess let's go ahead and start with what's really going on here. Minshew Mania is back, and it's back and better than ever, from what I understand.
Well, but I'll tell you what, I was right, though. They're not going to trade Nick Foles. Actually, no, Jake Ronholt went ahead. Was the first one to text me and said, boy, Scott, you got that right. Your hunches are right that they're going to keep him there. Well, I'll talk about that later, but, yeah, go ahead. Minshew Mania. It'll be good to see Gardner back there knowing that he doesn't have Nick Foles looking over his shoulder, and now he can embrace his city to see what he can do with it.
the great thing about it was when he met with the media, and he walked back in, and he walked in with a swagger and a smile, and he was talking to everybody, and he gave it that kind of that, I'm cool hand Luke is there, and everything is going to be okay. The persona, how do you say it? The feeling from Sunday to today in the city of Jacksonville is a complete 180. And we may not win another game, but just the idea that Minshew is there and the swagger is back, and people will be there with wearing mustaches and the headbands, and it's back. It's a real nice thing to see.
Okay, very good. Looking forward to seeing. I'll bet they'll probably sell a lot of tickets for the game against the Chargers because of Gardner, won't they?
I would hope so. I'm concerned that these are the last two games, the Charger game and then the game against the Colts at the end. This is the one where the fans need to come out. If the Jaguars for some reason lose their next three games and the Colts really have nothing to play for, I don't see them getting 50,000 people to come out on 4 days after Christmas to fill up the stadium where it might be cold. You know how windy it gets on the St. John's, with everybody's head basically on the chopping block. It just doesn't make sense. So hopefully, not only does he play, we get a win, and we string some things together, which hopefully will bring the fans out for the home finale on the 29th.
Okay, Lewis, by the way, just so you know, December 29th is my birthday. So, how about that?
Okay. My birthday's on the 19th.
Well, good. We got birthday, and meanwhile, Lewis has a question.
Yeah, so, David, this is a strange hypothetical, but I think it deserves some asking given Minshew's record in the 8 games that he started. They went 4-4. They have 4 games left. Say, hypothetically, they win 2 of those games and finish 6-6. Do you think some people are going to be quick to pigeonhole Minshew as a 500 quarterback this early in his career, or do you think, yeah, we need to see a larger sample size, but do you think some of that could start sprouting up if they wind up, say, 6-10 and 6-6 in the games that he starts?
Okay, well, how about this? And I like the question a lot. I hadn't thought about it that way. 4-4 in the NFL for a rookie quarterback is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you can win more than you lose as a rookie, especially in this league with speed, power, and strength being much different than it was, let's say, when Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, and John Elway were playing quarterback, that says something. I think that your assessment might be right, but I also think that the moving parts around him are changing. Things are a little bit different since he played 3 weeks ago. So I'm curious to see how he plays with E.D. Westbrook, who, by the way, did not practice today, but it was for a personal reason. He is healthier. So we'll see whether him being in the game changes maybe some of the dynamic, because he's got 3 speedy wide receivers. Leonard Fournette is still running the ball effectively. And if you didn't notice, and I'm sure you did, when we were playing in the second half of the game on Sunday, the offensive line did play better with Minshew in the game. At least that's what I saw on TV, Scott. And you can back me up on that.
Oh, yeah,
I
think so.
The offensive line played a heck of a lot better in the second half with a more mobile quarterback.
Right.
So maybe the dynamic changes a little bit, Lewis.
That is fascinating.
Well, you're right. Both of you guys are right. Yeah, Candy was on the field. I was in the box. And you're right. When you have a sitting duck there who can't get out of the pocket and you're a stationary target, then you're going to get hammered. Meanwhile, you got a guy like Gardner Minshew that can move around, and you extend the pocket, you go out of the pocket, you have the ability to look down your other targets. So there's no question the dynamics change when you have a mobile guy versus a guy who's very stationary, a pocket type of passer. I agree with you on that. Offensive lines can pull left to right when you got a guy who's moving laterally, is what they can do. I've seen that for many, many years.
It's a very apt observation.
I've seen a lot of football in my day. I've seen some good offensive lines, and I've seen some bad offensive lines. There was nothing more than watching a guy like Barry Sanders accumulate yards with mediocre offensive line. But a lot of those yards that he ended up going to was spinning east and west and making people miss. and all of a sudden your offensive line looks better depending on the type of runner you have. And Leonard Fournette, I like Leonard Fournette as a running back. I think he's one of the more underrated backs in the league. So you can only imagine it if he ever going to get much better offensive line around him, though.
Just out of curiosity, Scott, because you said you've been watching it for a while and you're kind of telling us your age. The Jaguars' offensive line in 2011, when MJD led the league in rushing, better or worse than the one that you see now?
Okay. So if that's the case, it reminds me of Sanders, okay? I see the comparisons very much so, where you have a running back go ahead and rush for good yards despite his offensive line. The only thing I can tell you right now is if indeed that was the case, because you've been around it longer, I can't imagine that Drew went ahead and wrote a check to buy a bunch of Rolex watches, that's for sure.
I don't think that's going to happen, no.
Exactly.
I know that he did take care of his offensive lineman, but I don't think it was anything like that.
Well, running backs will do an awful lot for their offensive linemen if they pick up those numbers. And those numbers, for running backs lead you to Hall of Fames. We don't have any numbers for offensive linemen unless you're good, you've been around forever, to get you into the Hall of Fame. And Mr. Numbers sitting across the desk from me will realize here that in a lot of cases there are certain positions that don't have numbers, so you have to hope and pray that they're recognized by football people that that know what they've done on the field.
Definitely. All right, what else would you like to talk about, Scott?
Well, what do I like to talk about? Well, things that we talked about. You talked about some things that the Jaguars are still planning for. You 5 players to build a team. You tell me, buddy.
Yeah.
You're up there. You're my eyes up there till at least Sunday.
Let's do this. Let's talk about some of the things that they can still play for. There's no playoffs, and we know that.
Right.
It's 4-8. They can play spoiler. I mean, that's a definite situation that they're in. They play against teams that do have a shot at the playoffs, with Oakland coming up next week, and then Indianapolis at the end of the year, which could be for a playoff position. So they definitely have the ability to do that. They have the ability to reel off 4 straight wins and give fans something to hope for. It helps to reestablish the commitment maybe the team should make to Minshew. If they win 4 straight with Minshew at quarterback, that creates an even bigger situation for them this offseason, especially if they decide that they want to change the coaching staff and the front office. As far as individual, honors, like I said, I believe that Fournette and DJ Chark are going to go over 1,000 yards each this week, which is pretty remarkable. I don't think, and I still couldn't find the numbers, that the last time that happened was when Fred Taylor was playing and Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardell were catching football passes. Hang on 1 second. I'm sorry.
Right.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I think, and if you look at it from another perspective too, on the defensive side, Josh Allen has 9 sacks. I'm expecting him to probably have 12 by the end of the year. He's just phenomenal, and people are going to watch what he does. We're going to watch what Unique Ngakoue does, because essentially he has a 4-game tryout. They're either going to keep him or they're not going to keep him. Something that was said yesterday in the locker room, especially by Calais Campbell and Avery Jones, was this is a tryout for a lot of players. This roster is going to be different next year.
Oh, yeah.
Depends on what they're going to do with money, who they want to keep, who the new management will be, whether there's a new head coach. Their players are fully aware of what's going on.
Right.
I'm fascinated with the fact that there are players who are really in tune with it, but they also aren't allowing it to affect what they're doing with their mental preparation. Because this is a team that, I don't want to call it turmoil, but it's ruffled. I mean, don't you think so?
Yeah, well, you made a couple of good points. When we talk about what they're playing for, and I love to mention this, guys are playing for their jobs, period.
Right.
Spoiler's one thing, okay, Dave? Playing for your darn job, okay, so you have another opportunity to collect that pension later on down the road and make bigger money. If that isn't big enough incentive, you tell me what the heck there is. I want to ask you, Mr. Weiss, okay, what are they playing for?
Playing for their jobs.
Louder.
Playing for their jobs, but that leads me to ask another question.
Go ahead.
If you let me. So,
if I'll let you, yeah, okay.
David, I feel like
you're nice about it.
David, I feel like you'll enjoy this question as well. So, when you said the offensive line played a lot better on Sunday, and you were there to see it, and
right.
you know, I understand you were sick, David, but I'm sure, you know, you're as keen to watching the game as anyone. You said the offensive line played a lot better when Minchuk